And welcome back to Hannity. Now, while President Obama continues to struggle to make any decision regarding what to do about Syria, my next guest, Karl Rove, says the commander-in-chief is leading from behind once again. He says, quote, presidential ambivalence is far from a winning strategy. In his Wall Street Journal op-ed, the former White House deputy chief of staff, well, he had some advice for President Obama. He wrote in part, quote, resolute leadership, clear goals, and as much unity in Washington as possible are required when America contemplates military action. Well, someone may want to let the White House know. Here to explain, the man himself, Fox News contributor, Karl Rove, the architect. Karl, you know, I guess he can't even remember his own red line, and I guess he's having a hard time remember that he said his goal was regime change, because Jay Carney and General Dempsey both said it's not the goal in this effort. So I guess the debate is first within himself.
Yeah, well, look, and you've just given a roadmap to some of the great problems with the administration's handling of this affair. 2 years ago, President Obama said the time has come for Bashar to go. And you don't say that the leader of Syria, President Assad, ought to go and not have a plan to make him go, because it makes America look weak and feckless. So for 2 years, nothing happened. It was like he was talking to himself. Then over a year ago, he said if they use chemical weapons, it will be a red line that will cause serious consequences. They used chemical weapons earlier this year. They used definitively chemical weapons earlier this summer. And the president apparently had no plan. He apparently didn't think about what to do about it. He didn't go out and build an international coalition saying, you know, if he uses them, we better be prepared to act, and here's what we want to do. I mean, this is amateur hour. And then you alluded to it, this leading from behind. He put the British Prime Minister in a no-win position. He told David Cameron, go ahead and get a vote of your parliament to agree to go to war, to allow you to use force. Now, you don't do that if you're not ready to act. In fact, what he should have said to Cameron was, why don't you wait until the United States Congress votes, or I definitively say I'm going to go, and then you can go to your parliament. Instead, he put him out there. The vote got lost. And then, to top it all off, the president leaked to the Washington Post that he was annoyed with Cameron, and the White House staff said that the president felt Cameron had mishandled the situation. Now, that's a great way to get allies to line up behind you.
All right, help me out here. Now, he said if the red line was crossed, he'd act. This is now the third time it's been crossed. Then he says he's going to act, but then he backs down and he says he's going to go to Congress. Then, now we're getting threatened by Russia, and they said they may defend Syria. Syria and Iran are threatening to retaliate against Israel. And he's only threatening just a couple of days of cruise missile strikes. Doesn't that seem weak and feckless itself?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's take what Russia says. Russia says it's going to give a missile shield to Syria. Good luck with trying to do that, A. And good luck with trying to do that quickly, B. And good luck with trying to get the Syrians trained to operate it, C. And good luck using a Russian missile defense system, which is not very good. Certainly not Iron Dome, certainly not what the United States have. So that, I think, is basically bluster. Let's take a look at the threat by Syria and Iran to attack Israel. You can say a lot of things about Assad, but he's not stupid enough to follow through on that. He knows exactly what would happen if he attacked Israel, and that is he would get chewed up and he'd spit out badly. And the Iranians, they make these threats all the time about Israel and don't seem to follow through on them. But Assad, who's made this, that's for domestic consumption. That's bluster and bluff. He knows how bad it would be if he brought Israel off the sidelines and into the conflict. There was some discussion earlier this year of him attempting to get back the Golan Heights, but it turned out that that was nothing except sort of Syrian nationalism and an attempt to shore up his base. But he ain't coming. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Karl, listen, 100,000 people died, and now apparently the 1,400 that died with the use of chemical weapons, now that makes a difference. I think if we were going to act, we should have acted earlier, and when there were more secular pro-American forces, they seem to have dwindled in numbers. So I guess the question is, if the president really wants to deal with the hostility in the region and the real threat in the region, don't we have to look to Iran and them becoming nuclear, coupled with their radical fascist ideology?
Well, two things. One is Iran is the bigger problem, but the moment of opportunity to strike there is when they bring this material from all of these different parts of the country together at some place inside Iran to fabricate a weapon. They aren't there yet. We attack these facilities, which are deeply, which are spread around the country. Before the material gets to that place, we're going to take out part but not all of their material. The second thing is, and this is, I was listening with interest to the conversation earlier about this. Just remember, in 2007, you talked about taking bunker busters and going and getting these weapons. Well, they know what the capability of the current arsenal of U.S. weapons is, the bunker busters. So they engineered these facilities. They saw what happened when the Israelis took out the Syrian facility and the Iraqi facility. They knew the capability of our weapons, so they dug these installations far enough into the ground so that they could survive the existing supply of bunker busters. 2006, we had an election, elected a Democrat Congress. In 2007, the Bush administration went to Congress and asked for a modest several $100 million in additional monies to modernize and upgrade our conventional weapon stocks. The idea was make the bunker busters tougher so that now you injected some instability in the situation. You can say to the Iranians, you thought that these were beyond the reach of American weapons, but you can't be sure about it. One of the first things Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat House of Representatives did was vote down the Bush administration proposal to upgrade the conventional weapon stock. So we lost an important bargaining tool, important part of leverage. They think, and they're probably right, that these facilities are deep enough to avoid our current conventional weapons.
And they're spread all throughout the country. It's not like they're in one area. So it's
That's correct.
A very difficult military operation.
That's why I think the president made a mistake by hanging this all on the use of chemical weapons. We have a strategic interest in Syria. If Syria, which is a proxy for Iran, and along with Hezbollah and Russia, if Assad prevails, it's a victory for those four. If Assad goes, then it's a victory for the United States and our allies in the region.
I don't know if it's a victory in the end, if it's an al-Qaeda-linked terror group that
well, I hope we can have a broader conversation about that, because the al-Qaeda elements are largely dominated by foreign fighters. The largest group is al-Nusra with about 5,000. I find it hard that to believe that a country of several tens of millions of Syrians is going to say we're going to accept domination by a group of foreign fighters and terrorists. I just don't believe it at the end of the day.
I'd like to believe more moderate, the Free Syrian Army, more moderate pro-American opposition forces would win. I'm not convinced that's a possibility in that region of the world, considering the outside influence of others, but it's not a chance I want to take either.
Remember the outside influence, though, is now on the side of the moderates. It is when they are now being armed and trained by the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Gulf state, because they have come to realize what a terrible threat a victory for Iran, Hezbollah, and the Syrians and the Russians will mean in that part of the world.
I think that's a tough sell, and I think it's too unpredictable. But
it is.
It's very unpredictable, precarious. But I got to go.
I get that. I get that. But if a victory by Syria is predictable, it will hurt the strategic interests of the United States and our allies.
All right, guys. Carl, thanks for being with us.